And welcome everybody. It's John the Net Guy, and on today's show, I'm joined by Joe from Pinkytech. Hey, Joe.
How's it going?
Doing good. It's always kind of funny. We've been doing a lot of these rehearsals and getting everything ready. This is my first two-party show. We're covering both coasts. I'm on the West Coast. Joe's on the East Coast. You know what I realized, Joe?
Nope. What's that?
When we're setting this up, I can't hear you and you can't see me right before we go live on the show. So it's really disconcerting, but we are live. We're streaming to both of our channels right now on YouTube. We've got Facebook up and running. We're going to have Amazon live here very shortly. I'm super excited about this today because, in all embarrassing obviousness, I told Joe the other day, I said, hey man, there's some really, really good deals on these Intel chips. I really want to build one, but I haven't built an Intel chip since the last GPU crisis. I haven't built an Intel machine. It's been a while.
The first crypto mining bust.
Yeah, exactly. I still get comments on my YouTube channel. They're like, "You can't get a GPU for $100." I'm like, "Well, you could have 2 years ago. Between the cycles." But it was funny. Yeah. So I shipped all of these parts off to Joe. I said, "Man, I gotta do a build with you." And I love my Ryzens, but under $100 4-core 8-thread CPU. Like that's something we got to look at. We got to put together. So it's kind of exciting. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to be pushing the buttons over here. Joe's doing the hard work this time. I'm sitting back. The only thing I noticed is I could use about 6 more monitors.
Yeah, that's no matter how many you have, you always need 2 more. So
that's exactly it. And we're going to talk about a sponsor that we have here that's kind of interesting. It's one of our first sponsored live streams. And we're going to bring it up on Amazon. Now, Amazon Live's got more rules, I tell you, than a presidential debate. There's certain things you can say. Thing you can't clap. I'm sure you can clap.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, oh my gosh, a super chat already. I haven't even got to talking about super chats. This is ridiculous. We'll get in there and talk about that in 1 second. Man. Yeah, Zach, you kill me, man. But we are going to go live on Amazon. There are some rules on Amazon. I can't tell you some cool stuff like down here. I can show you all of our socials and YouTube. Joe, you've got yours going over there.
Yep.
And
more accurately, you've got mine going over there since you're pressing the buttons, but I do appreciate
it. Technically, but you got the hard work today. So I would just encourage you, if you have not checked out Joe's channel, there's some really cool videos. He releases probably more often than I do. And you got some funny stuff in there, man. I love watching your channel. Very, very neat stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Speaking of that, let me pull up our notes here. Make sure I don't forget anybody when we're talking about this. Just one quick thing about, that all super chats are going to be read on the air, including during the Amazon section. Joe, are you shooting with a potato?
Yes. And there's one person on here that spends a lot more money on equipment than the other, and that's obvious. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and of course, I just realized my wife didn't do the obligatory, chinchilla farming on my eyebrows. She likes to go through and clean those up. As long as they don't touch, then I'm okay, right?
Yeah, as long as there's 2, you're okay.
I got Russian eyebrows there, but we'll read super chats on air. I got to pull this one up here. First up, Zach, man. That is awesome. Merry Christmas, super chat. I was going to say...
Holy cow.
Yeah, tell me about that. All super chats during this show are going to go to upgrade that camera. So, we'll get you something there, Joe, to help out. And I really do appreciate that, Zach. This is going to be awesome. It's going to definitely help us keep buying parts. And with that, we're going to leave that up for a little bit. I do need to talk about our sponsor. I'm going to wait till we get into the Amazon Live here. So we're going to have to be really quiet for a second. I'm going to get the Amazon Live going. If you do want to join us on Amazon Live, if you haven't followed me on Amazon Live yet, I'm trying to get up their levels. It's kind of like with YouTube. As soon as I get to 1,000 followers, I can get put on their Saturday shows, which is really cool for me, and that would be awesome. So I'm going to go in here and hit preview. I'm going to go tell OBS to bring the Amazon folks in. And then when we're ready, we'll get them going. And the first product I'm going to bring up is our sponsor today. We'll get all that lined up. It's just getting all connected and we're ready. And I'm going to clear our super for 1 second. We'll come back here. Be right back. Hey, welcome everybody from Amazon. It's John the Net Guy, and on today's show, we're going to be doing a PC build for $400. Yes, $400. You can build an Intel 10105F machine. But before we begin, I want to tell you about our sponsor today. Our sponsor is the Tonor Microphone Company. They make audio products. This is their Q9. I was talking to him about possibly doing a show here, and I've got my buddy Joe from Pinkytech down there. And I said to him, I can't do a show about your products unless I've tried them out. I said, send me your, most representative sample of your brand. And they sent me out this Q9. What was funny about it is I've had the newer version of this, NEEWER, and it was garbage. I sent it back. And so, not saying which model, but I've had other, ones that didn't work. And so this one's kind of cool. It's got a desk clamp. It's got this entire arm here. It has a shock mount, which you rarely see at this price point here. This is $54.99 right now. It's available. And it's a USB microphone. And you can hear in my voice, I'm probably excited. I'm probably talking over it. Am I, Joe? Am I breaking?
No, it actually sounds really good. As long as you
Sounds.
don't hit it like you did. So.
Oh yeah, I gotta be careful about doing that. But
Yep.
the one thing I like about it being a USB microphone, especially for streamers, you don't have to have an XLR interface. I've got a full soundboard here. It's going to cost you twice, three times as much as a microphone for a cheap soundboard. Then you don't have to have an audio interface as well. You don't have to have a cloud lifter. You see those guys that go out and get the SM7B from Shure. It's the ubiquitous microphone, and it sounds good. But this thing sounds really good too, and it's USB, works with Mac, PC, or Linux. Plug it right into your machine and get going. What's funny is there was no drivers for this thing. I plugged it right into my OBS. The only thing I have on it is a noise reduction, which I do with every single microphone I have. So I've been excited about it. You're going to get to see a demo of it the entire show today, because whenever I talk, I'm going to be talking through it here. And I just wanted to point that out and say thank you to the Tonor company. And if you're interested in seeing more about these products that they have, this is one of their kind of their mid-range products. This isn't even the best one that they carry. So if you want to see a show maybe with more of these products, stay tuned. And if you're on the Amazon, this is one thing I would recommend is follow me on Amazon up there. If you see that follow link, go ahead and hit that. You're going to get notified every time I go live. So if I do a show for Tonor or some of these other companies, you're going to get to see that show, and it's going to be really cool. But thanks again to Tonor. If you have any questions about them, let me know in the chat. I can answer those questions while Joe's building this PC we've got coming up. And then as well, at the end of the show, I'll try to answer any of the questions, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this microphone. But without further ado, Joe, I got to talk to you about this PC we're building today. It's an Intel 10105.
That's correct. 10105F. So no integrated graphics.
So on the,
And then we're using.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then we've got a B560 motherboard from ASRock, I believe it is, that we're putting that in, and then of course the 16 gigs of RAM and all the bells and whistles to make a nice solid 1080p gaming machine. So.
Exactly. And as I was going to mention, you see that URL at the top? This is actually the Net Guy shop on Amazon. It's kind of nice that they have this capability. So if you go to my Net Guy shop, it's /shop/the Net Guy. If you come down here and you click on this Intel Budget Gamer, that's my idea list, and it has all of the parts in here. But one of the things I noticed is the price on this motherboard went way up, right, Joe?
Yeah, and that's not uncommon at this point. One day you'll get something 50, 60 bucks, and the next day you turn around and it's double or triple the price. And you just got to kind of look around and see what deals are out there for what you're trying to build. But the deals are there, just may not be the same deal from day to day. And unfortunately, right now, with just the silicone shortage and everything else, it's feast or famine for some of the deals, and just constantly changing. But they're out there. You can still build a budget gaming PC.
Yep, absolutely. And I noticed that there's an extra motherboard in there.
There is, and that's basically an alternative. Yeah.
Yep.
And I love those gigabyte boards. They're really basic. The DS3H, and that spans all the way from Intel to AMD. They make the same, well, it's not the same board, it's a different chipset, obviously, but they make the same board type between AMD and Intel. They're fantastic budget boards. You're not going to do a bunch of overclocking or anything because they don't really have a whole lot of VRM cooling or anything like that, but very solid boards and very good features with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an alternative that we have available for you guys. If you're going to build this and that one that you're using today is not available, I've had really good luck with Gigabyte as well. I kind of go for the lowest price boards. Sometimes I don't. My X570, I definitely did. But when I
Right.
do that, Gigabyte, if you can get one of those for this price, that's an excellent deal. So without further ado, I'm thinking, Joe, we should get you set up and run over to that. I'm going to go through some of that. I'm going to bring myself back over here. I'm going to go a little bit through our shopping list while you get switched over. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So just real quick, here's the list of what I spent on them. I know these prices may not line up to what Amazon is. Again, these things fluctuate, but this is a $404 budget build here. So you can see this. Joe's getting ready to put the machine all together. As he goes to each specific part, I'm going to go ahead and pull those up on Amazon. It's going to be a tag team kind of thing. We'll pull them
You
up
want to flip that camera, John?
in the carousel. Let's see here. I think you will have to, on your end in Zoom, pick the other camera. Sorry.
Gotcha. I thought you were changing the scenes. I'm sorry. Not a problem,
I
though.
I will bring that up here. But yeah, again,
There we go.
all of these are the parts that are in the Amazon idea list. And so now we're going to pull Joe up real quick. He's on the B cam. What are we looking at, Joe? It looks like a big white desk.
Yep, that would be it. So, ta-da! Let's get some parts in here and make a few camera adjustments, and we
Okay,
can get
real quick.
started.
I'm going to pull up this motherboard just so people can see it. Now, this is
Yeah,
the B560M, right?
correct. Yep,
Nice.
from ASRock. B560M Pro 4.
What's your thought on
There we go.
2 versus 4 RAM slots on these?
I almost always go for RAM slots. It's one of my pet peeves is getting two. Now in a super budget build, you can do that. But essentially, the reason why I like four is that if you can actually get 4 RAM slots, then you're ready to go. So if you start with 16 gigs, you can always go back and then add another 16 gigs and bring yourself up to 32. Whereas if you have two, you basically have to get rid of those DIMMs and then buy the extra kit there. But so I do like this board. The one thing, other thing that I don't like as far as RAM slots on this board is the fact that this side is actually fixed. So you're just kind of stuck. And these are the only sides that actually open up for RAM. But other than that, it's been a really solid board. And I'm going to bring some more light over here.
There you go.
Once
Absolutely.
again, I'm working with potato equipment. So
Well, no, and actually, I should bring myself in here. So, noticing the CPU on this, that's one of the big differences Intel versus Ryzen, right? The sockets.
correct. Yep. Yeah, the socket type. So we're LGA with Intel. We're currently PGA with Ryzen, but that's going to change in the next series. So as a matter of fact, I've actually got a Ryzen board here.
Oh, nice.
And so the difference being, I've already had the CPU in the other one, but difference being is on Ryzen, your pins are all on the CPU itself, and on so there's no pins here. Flip it for Intel. For Intel, there's no pins on the CPU. The pins are all actually in the motherboard itself.
What's cool about that is when you're shopping for CPUs, you don't have to worry about bent pins, but when you're shopping for motherboards, you do.
Exactly. Yep. And basically, if you bend either the motherboard pin or the CPU pin, it's a pain either way to try to actually salvage it. So it's about 50-50. Yeah, either way you want to look at it there. So
Exactly. Do got a question in the chat here. I'm going to bring up Andrew, and he's
sure.
asking if the 10100F supports
Mhm.
XMP profiles. It's a good question.
Um, so the XMP is usually more towards the memory and the motherboard. And so with that, yes, typically speaking, you can. I believe, and I'd have to look at the spec sheet for the 10100 and the 10105F. I believe they actually only support technically speeds up to 2666 off the top of my head. But if you get I would always recommend just get you a kit of 3200 megahertz memory, because at this point, the price difference between 2666 and 3200 isn't much. And typically speaking, the boards will just downclock the memory to 2666. And then if you do upgrade in the future, you don't necessarily have to get rid of the RAM kit unless, of course, we go DDR5 like Intel's doing doing with their 12th gen stuff.
I'm telling you, you are a machine because I had to look that up on the other screen here. It's exactly 2666. So yeah, this is the 10th gen low spec CPUs are definitely limited, but really compared to Ryzen, that RAM speed doesn't make a big difference, right? Or as much of a difference.
Yeah, so Intel is always the difference with RAM speed isn't as great. The difference with Ryzen is actually pretty significant, especially when you jump past 3200 up to like 3600 or something like that. So,
Exactly. Very cool. Awesome. And thanks
all right.
everybody.
Yep. So we want to do some building here.
I was thinking about it. Okay, what are we throwing in?
All right. All right. So I kind of do my building in like three parts. So what I do first is I get the motherboard ready. And then at that point, I will switch over to getting the case ready and then put the case in the motherboard. And then from there, I actually will go through and do the GPU and all the cable management stuff. So as far as getting the motherboard ready, I like to put the Intel chip in first, or Ryzen chip, whatever the processor is, that goes in first. And then I will put in the memory, and then I'll move on to the heat sink if I am using an air cooler like we are today. I'll get that all ready, and then from there, it kind of we'll snowball into the motherboard and everything. So this isn't necessarily going to be a tutorial, but essentially the RAM slots in here. Most of the time, the motherboards now will tell you where it needs to go. So I already know on this board it's these two slots, and so we're just going to connect that, and hopefully I don't break any pieces tonight, but we'll see what happens. So,
well, and that's
there we
the
go.
good news that I actually like buying from Amazon. I like buying from Amazon Warehouse even because if it doesn't work, you send it back.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
hassle-free return policy. Can't tell you how many times I've used that, and I don't feel guilty about it. So even though I'm an Amazon influencer, I'm using air quotes. I'm just a guy that loves tech. When I buy parts, that's one of the reasons that I choose from Amazon, especially the
Yep.
Amazon warehouse deals, which we can't really show you tonight. But some of these parts, if you do see that alternative for used, that's a great deal to pick something
Right.
up like that.
Yep. Yeah, Amazon Warehouse is fantastic for this stuff because, and a lot of times what ends up happening is someone will go buy something and then they realize, oh, I didn't read this. And guess what? It's not compatible. Then they send it back and order what they need. And so a lot of the times, like I can't recall a time where I've gotten something from Amazon Warehouse that wasn't, didn't have, like, was missing a IO shield or something like that. I've usually always gotten everything that I need inside the package. And like you said, even if you don't, hassle-free returns, you just send it back to them. So,
Yep. And while you're building that, I've got you in the window here, but I'm also showing the
mhm.
actual RAM chip on Amazon here. So if you need to find where this is, you can go to my Amazon shop. The URL is at the top of the screen there, and you can get this RAM out. Oh, he's applying the thermal compound.
Yep. And I like to use the P method, but it pretty much doesn't matter however you do it. The P method, the grain of rice, the X, whatever you choose is going to be wrong. So just pick one that you like and stick with it. So welcome to the internet and getting yelled at for stuff. So yeah, we put the thermal paste on because we got the memory, we've got the processor here. So we wanted to put the cooler on. Before I get the cooler on there, I will say this deep cool cooler, it actually performs very well. So I like that about it. I would say though, I would probably go with the black version of this. So let me get this down here where you guys can actually see it. So it's actually just a plain aluminum. It does have the cover though, and once we get everything assembled, spoiler alert, you can't really see it when you're looking at it through the case and everything. So it ends up not looking that bad, but it's one of those things that I know it's just a plain cooler that hasn't been painted and it just bothers me. But but it was a good deal, and I think this was potentially an Amazon warehouse deal if I remember correctly, John.
I know it was just a ridiculously cheap deal. I'm going to pull it up right
Yeah.
here as well. I got a great deal on this thing. I love getting deals on cool tech. So this is the Deep Cool. It is $39.99 listed. Now there's some other options. You can get white if you're doing a white PC case. You can get the black, just no RGB, or you can get in this case, you can get addressables. They got other ones, which is really cool. Hey, welcome, Eric. By the way, I just saw you there from DVZN Media, a longtime guy that I follow on YouTube. And let's see here. Zachary's saying, hey, I got my NZXT B550 off Amazon Warehouse, and it's been fantastic. Absolutely. And that's a good chipset for a motherboard. I really like that for Ryzen. Let me get back to
The
Joe here.
B550.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Ryzen chipset. Yep. And
Yeah,
nice. And I will be honest with you. So, there might be someone out there saying, why don't you do the 460 motherboards? And those are fine, but the B560 chipsets will actually allow you to do a little bit of overclocking with memory. And so you get a little bit better performance sometimes with it, just kind of depending on the application. So the B560 is a good choice. And then of course it does support the 11th and 12th gen Intel processors as well. So,
and one thing I'll talk
and
about with the deep cool here while we're talking about that fan is it supports way more than just the processor we're using today, right? You got your
yeah, absolutely.
AM4, the LGA 1200, and it's going to have
AM4 is
different.
Ryzen.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I
Yeah.
should
It
clarify
will
that.
not support AM4.
Yeah, yeah. So it's got a bunch of different options here, and then you just when you're building that up, it comes with the different adapters, correct?
For I'm sorry, or you're talking about for the cooler itself?
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
cooler,
correct.
yeah.
It,
So you
it
can get on those.
everything it supports as far as Intel 1150X and 1300 or 1366, I think it is AM4. Everything that you need to mount it, as long as the support is there on the spec sheet for whichever socket you're looking at, you have all the screws and brackets and things that you're going to need. So.
And I forgot to mention, we are live on several different services, including Amazon. But if you're watching us on Amazon and you do follow, if you're not watching on Amazon, go ahead and hit the link in the description. It'll take you to the Amazon version. I'm going to call you out on air. So Victor started following. Thank you, Victor. That's awesome. You're going to get notified every time I go live, whether it's Joe and I building a PC or if I'm doing some reviews. I do have a show coming up. Knock on wood, Monday, I'm going to try to get that earbud show out because I've got 8 different earbuds. I didn't know how long it was going to take to evaluate 8 different earbuds. Yeah, the runtime on that's 6-7 hours each times 8. That's like a week worth of work alone. So
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how you kept up with 8 different pairs of earbuds. To be honest with you, I have trouble enough keeping up with one. So,
my Bluetooth was not happy on my phone, but they all did work. So we're going to go through a couple just different things while we're putting this in. The P or X pattern are both of the common methods. Do not use the spreaders, what Andrew says. That's just overkill. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them that have the little paste spreader. And then he says capillary action via mounting pressure will take care of the spreading for you. Absolutely. And I think
yeah.
a lot of the Ryzens are just doing the thermal pads now too, right?
I haven't really seen a lot of people using thermal pads. They are out there, and they're out there for Ryzen and for Intel. But it's yeah, they're not really that common. I know people that do a lot of benchmarking will use them just because it's easier than cleaning thermal paste up all the time. So, but yeah, that is an option as well. And then I am just cable man. So cable management is, obviously the bane of everyone's existence. But so what I like to do though is since I'm doing this, I can wrap this around here and then we won't see this cord. Then unfortunately, one of the things I didn't like about this particular um, cooler was the actual, and I know it's hard to see. Sorry, I have potato equipment, everyone. But it does have kind of a weird connector on it. And then you have an extension cable that you then plug into it, which
Mm.
is right here. And then you can connect the RGB to your motherboard, and it's super annoying. And then, of course, you've got an extra foot and a half of cables that you're going to have to cable manage later. But yeah, good times all the way around. So
Oh, don't worry. I was embarrassed. I got an SFX power supply. So one of the small form factors. I thought, oh, this will
right,
be great. I'll put it in this really nice tower case I have because it has the adapter. The cords weren't long enough.
yeah,
The CPU pin. So, having extra cord there, I'll give you one positive. If you have an X570 board and you got to get all the way to the bottom, right?
hmm
That's one advantage if you're going up and over the back. But yeah, cable management's always tough on these.
yeah. And I will say too, as fun as it is, having all this extra cable, if you have a case like we're going to be using today that has a power supply basement, just shove all the cables in there. So best
The
cable
basement.
management method they've come up with. So, all
Yeah.
right. And that's it. So we've got, tilt this up just a little bit for everyone. So yeah, we have our motherboard assembled. We've got our memory on there. We've got our CPU. We've got our fan. And obviously we're not going to put the GPU in because you kind of have to mount that to the actual case. So, but yeah, that's it. And if your cooler's not shaking, you got enough mounting pressure, or at least that's generally the case. So, we're going to move on to getting the case ready.
Nice. So we've got a pretty good build going here. We covered the Intel CPU. We covered the motherboard here. Got the RAM installed. Now, a lot of times you could hook up the power supply if this is your first time doing this, and you could bench start it. I think I've got another live build I did, a 5600. If you see my past streams,
Hmm.
it'll talk about that. If it's your first time doing this and you're not, we've tested this board a bunch of times. I've got some pictures of this machine. It is going to be available, by the way, I should say, after the show. This entire build is going to be available on one of those sites that I can't name that does auctions, very popular one. But we'll talk about that after the show. But we're just opening the Montech case. I'm going to pull this one up
Yep.
because this was an interesting case. Joe, you have more
Yeah.
experience with this case than I do, but I think you even got a video on it. This is a really good one, right?
Yeah, and it's not this one. It's actually so this is the Montech Air 100 ARGB. I've actually got a video on another site we're not allowed to talk about either, probably on on the Air 100 Lite, which is basically the same case, only the fans are not ARGB.
Yep.
But I really like this case. Some of the features of it is it did have the thumb screws for your back panel. No, the IO shield comes with the motherboard. I was just too lazy to take it out when I was disassembling. But when we take a look at the case itself, look at the cable
Wow.
management. And this is a $70 case, I think it is. My hider's getting in the way here. So it's got room, obviously, SSD, and then down here, once again, me being lazy, I've already got an SSD mounted, but this would be a 3.5-inch tray that you can use. So
Mm-hmm.
it's got some room for some SSDs and for one larger hard drive or mechanical drive, I should say.
Yep.
So not, it's not my 5000D airflow from Corsair, which is a full full ATX case that you can stuff pretty much anything, and I'm pretty sure my car fits in there at this point. But it's got all these cable tie downs. So these came with the case, as you can tell, because I don't work for Montech and it's theirs. And then also it has a ARGB hub in it. Now it's not a fan hub, but they do daisy chain all their fans together. And the a couple of drawbacks, obviously they're not captive thumb screws for the side panel, but really the major drawback that I have with this is that, and it's once again going to be hard to see, but this is a 3-pin fan connector, so you're not going to be able to control the speeds like you would with a 4-pin connector. So that's kind of one of the drawbacks, but it does have a power supply basement on there. It's got all the cable management that you could want. And then just, one of the things you have to make sure is with this ARGB controller is that you do actually plug it into SATA, because if you don't plug it into SATA power, it won't have any power. Your fans will spin. They won't have any color to them. So
Yeah, and I'm going to pull up the Amazon page for this. This is the Montech Air 100 Lite on the Amazon page. Identical case to this. The difference is it doesn't come with those fans. The addressable RGB, but same case, same build quality here, which is kind of neat. One thing I wanted to point out is, again, supply issues as they are right now. It's really hard to find good cases. This same build process will work with really any micro ATX tower design. So this is one that we picked that we like, but you're going to see some stock issues that have been going in and out of stock here.
yeah, that's correct. And that was one of the things that unfortunately I don't see the Air 100 ARGB anymore. So that was unfortunate because I really do like this case, but you could always get the Air 100, and then which is actually cheaper than this one. And from there, you can actually just go ahead and add some ARGB fans if you so choose.
I like it.
Here we go. All right, so I'm just kind of fishing some cables out of the way here. So next for me is I've just double checked and made sure that all of the standoffs are actually inside of the case. And so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to mount the power supply in here. And so let me see if I can get you guys a better angle for this. So here's the power supply, and this is the Corsair CX50. Good power supply. It is, I think, an older model, but it's still a very good power supply, and especially for a budget build. And it does give you some headroom being a CX50 that you could upgrade the graphics card later on to one of the newer ones, like a 3060 or something like that, and still have enough for the recommended power to power a newer graphics card if you so choose. And then since we have a dust filter on the bottom of ventilation, we're going to mount this fan side down so that we can take in the air from the bottom, and then of course it'll exhaust out the back here. So
Very, very good
trying
point.
to
And
get that put in.
that does keep the power supply from adding heat to your case, right?
It does, but I mean, with this case, to be honest, it probably wouldn't make much of a difference just because it already has good ventilation in it, and of course, with this one, the power supply itself, it could actually pull through. But I like doing it like this. That way, your power supply and your GPU are not fighting for the same oxygen, I guess. So
Same here. You got it.
yeah.
I'm actually going to pull that up right now. I'm going to bring my browser up here. So I've got it on the Amazon carousel right now. It is $64.99 on Amazon right now. 650 watts, like Joe said. That's going to give you some breathing room if you want to add a bigger graphics card down the road. And I always recommend people get a power supply calculator, not one that you buy, but one online. You can Google a power supply calculator, and there's many good ones out there. And just make sure that you're budgeting the right amount of power for your CPU, SSD, and all that. And this one just happens to be, looks like a bronze rated, 80 plus bronze. Those are the ratings, and it's kind of an all volunteer thing. I don't know if you can trust many of them, but that just means that it's going to be, I think this is about 90%, 85, 90% efficient at kind of the midpoint. And so if you overbuy your power supply, it's not going to use more power usually. It may be more efficient in that midpoint, but this is going to be plenty. And depending on if you leave your computer on all the time, how much power you need. I've seen guys buying these 1200 watt, 1000 watt power supplies for a simple GPU. I think they're overpaying. I don't know. What's your thought on that, Joe?
Yeah, most people are going to overspec their power supplies, and it's just kind of for whatever reason they're like, well, I want 1,000 watts so that I can run this stuff, and it's like, okay, but you're never really going to have anything. But yeah, I would take John's advice and definitely get a power supply calculator, because you'd be surprised what you actually need to run a system versus what people will tell you to buy. You never want to buy right at the edge, but most systems, especially a budget system like this, is probably going to be somewhere around 300 watts max. And so spending on 1,000 watt power supply is really not going to get you anything better. They say, yes, it'll run quieter. And I would say, the difference between price in a 650 watt power supply and a 1,200 watt power supply, is that worth it to you? Is it going to be really that much quieter, especially when most of us are wearing headphones while we're gaming anyway? So I doubt it. I would say just save your money, spend it on something else.
Exactly. And, any standard power supply is going to work on this one. This just happens to be the one that we're building. Got a great deal on it and, had a little bit of that headroom. So that's what we're seeing here on Amazon. So I'm going to go back to Joe. Looks like he's got that almost done. Speaking of power supplies, there's that whole modular versus non-modular debate. Where do you stand on that, Joe?
Yeah, so I'm a semi-modular guy, if I can. So that's the fully modular, unless you're going to do custom cables, is probably a waste for most people, because if you think about it, every build that you do is going to have a CPU connection and a 24-pin motherboard connection. So there's not really a need to not have those cables. So if you're going to do custom cables, that's fine. But other than that, being able to choose how many SATA connections you want, how many video card connections or graphics PCIe connections that you want, that's actually valuable to me. But I would say that comes in after I spent all the money on the performance I can. That to me is kind of an aesthetic thing, because it's not going to change performance any.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about that, I probably should have qualified that. So, this one is not a modular power supply, non-modular. All the cords are connected to it. A semi would have the main cables connected, the ATX, but it would allow you to choose if you needed SATA power or anything else like that. And then a fully modular means they're all unpluggable. I think, fully modular is kind of a waste of money in the sense that you're always going to have that ATX cable in there. So, one of those. I did get a chat message from Andrew. He agrees with us. He says, I like 20 to 30% headroom. You can get 650 to 750 if we plan on upgrading in the near future. What's funny about that is I think this machine probably draws 150 watts average. So when you think about what we're buying. Yep.
It's not going to be much, and that's the especially when you're dealing with 4-core 8-thread chip like this 10105F is. Like I said, save your money. Spend the extra on getting more performance, a better RAM kit or something like that, better cooling. Don't waste it on stuff like that. So absolutely.
I'm going to pull up a funny tool. Now, it's not in the carousel. I have to point that out here. But this is called a kilowatt. If you're really interested in how much power is actually being used, you can get one of these at Amazon right now for $35.41. It may arrive after Christmas, it's saying, but I use these all the time. And, I had a GTX 10, or not 10, no, a 1650 low profile in an HP 800 back there, an 8 thread 6700. The whole thing maxed out with everything was 200 watts at full tilt. So yeah, a lot of people overspend, I think, on power supplies. It's definitely a way to save money. But if you're thinking of putting a 3070 or 3080, 3090, something big in there, I would get a cleaner, larger power supply. But this is gonna run really well.
Yep, absolutely.
So that is the
All right.
kilowatt energy meter there. It's not on the carousel, but
And if you're wondering, most motherboard manufacturers at this point have a power supply calculator that you can use. So you find one that you like over there on Amazon, you always go to the manufacturer site and figure out, what they recommend for you for your system. And they'll let you put in all your parts, how many SSDs, if you're using ARGB fans, RGB fans, all that good stuff. All right, well, moving right along, we've got her in the case, so it's time to start connecting some stuff.
this is always the fun part. This is where mistakes are made, and many a tech is made human again. I love to always, do the whole, will it post thing in my builds. And this is going to be embarrassing because now I get to see Joe do a build and do the will it post.
Yep. Well, and luckily I've already, put this together because we didn't want to do a live stream and have parts fail. That's not a good experience for anyone involved. So we know it will post if I do it right, because we know the parts work. So if it doesn't post at this point, that's 100% on me messing it up here. And I should probably get a better camera angle for you guys and what else providing there. So
there you go. Yeah, and actually I pulled up a chat message from Zachary. He was our super chatter from earlier. Mm-hmm. It says, actually, I prefer modular for cable management reasons. I like having not to hide cables I'm never going to use, but I also design my builds to have as few cables as possible. He built an ITX build the other day, and that thing was tiny.
Yeah.
Needed a shoehorn to get in there. And I did promise that anybody that is on Amazon right now and does follow, by the way, there's the link up there. It's going to be in one of the corners. It's going to have a follow button if it's your first time here. I'll give you a shout out. So Kevin J. Hag, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, started following. You're going to get notified every time we go live on Amazon. And thank you, Kevin, for doing the follow here. I will pull up a couple
like a reward.
Yeah, you get your name out there. You get to be internet famous for a little bit, like us, right?
Yep. I don't know about like us, but like John for sure. And here's one of the things I really like about this case is I'm fishing this EPS, the CPU power back here, and there's actually plenty of room. And so there's a lot of cases out there, especially on the budget end, that will, you basically have to connect the EPS before you do anything else. And so, yeah, it's I'm glad this one has plenty of room. Now, it having plenty of room doesn't make me a better technician, unfortunately, but there is plenty of room to actually get your full hand back here to get it connected. So that's always nice.
Very nice. Hey, Kobe's Tech, welcome to the chat. Awesome. And he's asking how everybody's doing tonight. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching us on my YouTube channel or you're on Pinkytech, this is John, the net guy, and Joe from Pinkytech is doing a live build. This is one of our first combined shows. And we're also live on Amazon right now. So if you haven't, take a look at the link in the video description here, and I'll put it out in the chat here shortly so that you guys can join us on Amazon and get notified. I'm actually pulling the parts up as we're going. That's one of the cool things. Amazon Live basically cuts out the middleman. It allows us to show you the parts directly in your Amazon app while you're shopping with us together. So we're going to do this live PC build. All of the parts here are available on Amazon, including the GPU. We should probably talk about GPU prices before we get there.
It's just not. It's been a good night so far, and we don't need to bring everyone down.
Don't want to offend everybody. Yeah, the GPU that's listed in here, and I will pull it up on the chat right now. I am not officially allowed to tell you not to buy this thing, I don't think. But I'm pulling it up right now. This is a GTX 1060 3 gig card. So, unfortunately, the supply situation as it is, you can almost not get a GPU right now. And it's really, really hard. And oh man, I'm gonna have to call that person out here in a second. But this is the one that we're actually using. And I'm gonna show you some gameplay footage here. Actually, I'm gonna pull that up while he's still building and get that going for us because I want you guys to see what you can kind of expect from this machine. So I'm gonna pull that up here. This is Far Cry 5 and this is running on that GTX 1060 on this Intel build. So we technically already baked the cake here. We made this already. So this is the game's benchmark screen running. And you can see the frame rates are really good. A lot of people are holding out for those 3000 series cards. I would love one myself. I've got an AMD 6000 series in the back and it works well. But, this 1060, if you can find one of these on one of those unmentionable websites, and you can get a good deal on it, I'd pick it up. But the one that we have on Amazon is, I think it's even over MSRP, and that's just unfortunate. It's just the times that we live in right now. I did have to call somebody out right now, Carla M, and it's on Amazon. It says, "My name is Kenroy Embris. I'm watching you live from Trinidad in the West Indies." I think that is one of the furthest people away, Joe, we've ever had.
Yeah, that does seem, yeah, definitely for me.
Trinidad.
I think the furthest I have seen on my channel is, or at least during a live stream, would be England. So it's still across the pond, but definitely a much shorter swim. So
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? This card did 62 FPS. And just to show how accurate Andrew has been today, I'll pop his chat message up. He says 1060 is a sweet spot for 1080p 60 FPS. It would be nice if you could get the 6 gig card. Some of the newer games are going to really want that extra RAM, but I'm going to bring up a couple other games just because I want you to see how this thing performs while Joe's hooking it up down there in the corner. You can see this is Fortnite. And, it's funny. I've started to play this more and more. They've just had the latest season, the whole, I don't know. Are we allowed to give spoilers, Joe?
I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler at this point. It's been out for a little bit, so.
Yeah, go ahead and mute me if you're worried about this, but I just want to show you the FPS you're getting. 106 FPS. Now, this is not performance mode, right? This is medium/epic settings.
Yeah, it's medium settings, epic view distance.
Yeah, you got to have the epic view distance because you need to find other people, right? But
yep.
Spoiler alert: the whole island flipped upside down in the last one. It was pretty funny. So we're looking at the graphics of a GTX 1060 3 gig available from Amazon. And this is 106 FPS in Fortnite. And, actually, I'm going to play it some more. It looks really good. I totally think you must be spectating here, right? I'm not sure. You're not that cracked of a shot, right?
No. And as you can see there, I am not that cracked of a shot. So if I was spectating, the other person is just as bad as I
am. So there you go.
Yeah, Fortnite is definitely not a game I play often. I do run it for benchmarks, so I do get into the potato lobbies. So I don't look quite as bad on screen with it, but yeah, it's definitely not a game that I partake in a whole lot. But I know a lot of people do, and I always like to run benchmarks on it because basically, if you see what it runs in Fortnite, you kind of get the gist of what it'll do for a lot of other games.
Now, this is kind of embarrassing too. If you guys know of a game that you want to ask about, put it in the chat. My daughter and I started playing Fortnite 1v1, and she's right at that point where she can beat me. I think with the shotgun, close range, she's beating me in this game. And I don't know if I should continue the trick that I was using. I'm like, oh, my machine was lagging, my chair slipped, whatever, anything. Is anybody else having their kids, do better than them at the game? When do I finally just have to say you're better than me at this?
You never give them that satisfaction. That's just my own opinion. But
I can come up with a lot of excuses, but I'm going to have to start playing a lot more Fortnite to really challenge her. This is actually a game that I just played last night. We're showing Halo Infinite on this. Nice. So we're locked here at 60 FPS, right? You were telling me that, Joe, on this game?
Yeah, so Halo Infinite by default has a 60 FPS cap. Supposedly there's a way around it. I haven't really looked into it. So yeah, it's just we're kind of hitting the upper limit. So unfortunately, I don't know if it's Halo's fault or the card's fault. But the one thing I will say about the 3 gig card as well is when you open Halo Infinite, you do get a warning that says, "Hey, you don't have the recommended 4 gigs of VRAM." However, I mean, it was pretty smooth. I didn't run into any stuttering or anything like that. I'm absolutely trash at the game, but I can't blame that on the card, unfortunately. So.
Absolutely. So you're gonna get to play most games with 3 gig card. If you can find a card that's got more than that, I would say get it. And the cool thing is, it's actually going to do really well in this build overall. With another card. And Zachary comes back with the if you have to ask, they're better,
Yeah,
which is probably true. So
I like this guy. I don't.
you guys could be buds, is what you're saying. I love it.
Yeah, this might be the next stream is the Pinkytech and Zach show. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
This could
If
work.
you lose to your daughter, we're gonna have to make some adjustments, John. That's all. So.
That's true. That's true. Now, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the next one that we're
Mhm.
pulling up here, and it's got kind of a pre-computed benchmark, right? I always have trouble.
Yeah.
I try to do gameplay the same in most games, but it's hard. I'm seeing 52, 56. You got 56 here on medium settings?
Correct. Yep. And so you could lower that down, get up to 60 FPS, but Shadow of the Tomb Raider, kind of like Far Cry, they're not the fast-paced online shooter, so not hitting 60 FPS is not the greatest, experience, I guess. But also, it's really not too bad. It's one of those things where you can get by with it. Whereas if you're in competitive shooters, you really want to be 100 FPS plus, just
Yep.
because you got server lag and everything else, and targets that are moving, and yeah, it kind of gets a bit dicey sometimes.
And it's funny, actually. I For Black Friday, I did a 5 monitor showcase. I almost need to add that to the carousel here. Sadly, I can't hook it all up and show you, but the Scepter monitor that was there, I ordered another one for myself because it's such a good deal. But those monitors going up to 144, 165 hertz, yeah, if you're stuck at that 60 hertz max, you're going to be a little bit limited for sure. So,
Yeah.
you may want to consider a better GPU. If you're watching us on Amazon, you might have seen another John Freeman in there. He says, "Have a good stream, Name Thief. Gotta go." It's actually a buddy of mine named John Freeman, my own name. And we always laugh about it. He has a boat that is identical to mine, too. Just we met on the internet. The internet's a
Getting some
crazy place.
single white female vibes, and unfortunately, only our older viewers in chat are going to get that reference. But
There you go. Hey, I do have
still
to
had to
call
make it.
out Roy Simone. Started following on Amazon. Thank you, Roy. You're going to get an notification anytime I go live. We're killing it on the followers. This is going to be awesome. I'm
Awesome.
really
Yeah.
happy about that. It's going to help me be able to stream to you guys more often. You're going to get notified. I am going to pull up kind of the Debbie Downer here of Warzone performance on this machine. I thought this was VGA when you started it up the first time, but no.
Yeah, it's not great. It's 1080p low settings, and there's basically everything low or off that we can get. Um, but what's actually kind of good about it is it did actually play at 1080p, and that's full render scale. So you didn't
Okay.
have to bump it down to 720. And to be honest with you, a lot of times you do. And I know we took a look at the 5600G. 5600G couldn't play it at 1080p.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's not the greatest experience, but definitely gives you the opportunity to actually play and be able to maintain good frame rates, or at least decent frame rates, to where you're not down at 30 FPS or something like that. So it worked. It's a you know to each their own. I know some people, if it doesn't play 100 FPS, it doesn't play at all, and that's fine too.
Absolutely. You know what I got going on here? I've got Joe back up full screen here. He's building an Intel 10105F with a GTX 1060. All the parts are available in the Amazon carousel. I've just happened to be highlighting while we were doing the benchmarks the video card. We should talk about storage a little bit because I see you're back there probably hooking the storage up.
That's correct. We've got the Samsung 870 Evo, and that is a SSD, so it's a 2.5-inch SSD drive, and I think the read writes are somewhere around, actually, I couldn't even tell you that offhand. I'm not even going to pretend. But yeah, it's a SSD drive. It's a really good drive. And I mean, right now there's plenty of actual, deals on SATA drives, on NVMe drives, all kinds of stuff. So the options with storage right now are really good. It's been one of the things, storage and RAM, the prices for those at this point are one of the shining spots in tech right now. And for a while, they were, some of the more expensive components.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to pull that up on my screen here just so you can see again. If you want to know all the parts that we're using in this build, if you visit that website, Amazon/shops, I can't say schlop. No, Amazon.com/shop/the net
Spelling
guy.
counts. Yeah.
Exactly, except when you're speaking. You can see my idea list around this build. It's the 12/15 budget Intel gamer. Like you were saying, storage is great right now. Samsung Evo probably is the tier one drive out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't necessarily afford that. I've done some review videos for Crucial. A Crucial MX500 would be another great one to have in this form factor. And, really, I think an NVMe drive. So this is a traditional plug-in SATA SSD. NVMe drives have come down so much in price, and those just install right onto the motherboard. So again, reduces your cabling. So, if we have somebody like Zach who's worried about his cable management, we could do that. But yeah, lots of really good options here. And it's funny because, the price difference, I think right now, this one's $59.99, and they go up and down. They fluctuate quite a bit, but the 250 gigabyte is more expensive. That's how crazy the world is right now. But this is a great deal on a drive that I can pull the stats up for you here. It's 560 and 530 megabyte sequential read and write, and that's it's
that makes sense. It is SATA. It's not a NVMe drive. So,
and that's really going to be the SATA interface. The NVMe drives can go faster. There's been a lot of debate on whether people actually will notice seat of the pants, whether they're on the different types of drives for sure. And I don't think you could on this. I think the Samsung Evos with the low seek times are going to be just fine.
Yeah, if only somebody on this live stream had a video about the differences between them. It would be great.
That'd be a really interesting video to watch.
Yeah, 100%. So
100%. And actually, I got to pull up another one here. Zachary, this is a cool thing about Amazon. We get to talk about these cool products. We get to talk about our experiences with them, share the wealth before we buy. In this case, Zachary is actually saying he has an entire flash storage array. I can't imagine this. 15 1 terabyte 860 Evos.
Oof.
That's not only money. That thing scoots, I bet. That is crazy.
Tell me you're filthy rich without telling me you're filthy rich. Yeah, the 860, don't get me wrong, the 860 Evos are fantastic drives, but they are definitely some of the more expensive drives out there on the market. And I won't say it's not worth the money. To be honest with you, if you were going to spend on an 860 Evo, I'd probably tell you look at like a Team Group or an NVMe Premium, NVMe drive, which you'll get faster reads and writes. Whether or not you actually notice it, who knows? But the Samsung SSD there is just going to be limited by the fact that it is a SATA interface versus a PCIe interface. So,
absolutely, man. I love this stream because I get to push buttons over here, and Joe does all the work. I might have to do this more often. Let us know in the chat if this is something that's cool that you would tune into. If you'd like to see us do other types of shows, just reviewing basic tech. I love doing PC builds because one, you get to learn how easy it is to build a lot of these machines with the right parts, with a little bit of help in the beginning, and then you can start to get creative. It's really kind of cool. And just wanted to bring up Dan Ortel started following us on the Amazon. Thank you, Dan.
Woohoo.
Really appreciate that. You're going to get notified every time we go live. And Zachary's back with I use Crucial MX500 as boot drives on my servers. I thought he was going to say them as backups for his RAID or something. He just uses SSDs.
I just use the Crucial 500 for my non-important files. So.
Yeah, the MX500 to mix my cereal in the morning as I eat.
All right, so it's going to be a little difficult to see, but
pull you up here. It's coming together.
Pretty clean on the inside here. Sorry to get everyone motion sick, and yeah, now you can see all my games over there, board games, collecting dust because we never play them. But
I see some Candyland in there, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah, and I have two teenagers, so that tells you how long that game has been there. And I think the amount of dust on it actually is accurate for how long it's been there. So
I'm telling you, sorry brings up some serious like angst in our house. It's a
yeah,
tough one. It's hard.
it's Monopoly for us. Yeah.
Mm, yep, yep.
All
And just
right, so
for the people
go ahead.
joining here recently, this is John the Net Guy, and I'm with Joe Pinkston. You're probably watching us either on YouTube or Amazon Live. Thank you, regardless of which service you are watching us on. Joe is doing all the work as usual here. He's building an Intel 10105F gaming PC, and we're just having a fun time tonight. We're chatting together. If you are wanting to watch us on Amazon, which is really cool. Oh, we're about to do the big GPU insert here. But
Oh,
if you
I
are
was gonna
watching
wait
us,
for your spiel.
okay. Yeah, I'm slowing you down. Sorry, man. But you know, if you are going to want to watch us on Amazon, we have a cool feature called the carousel. I can bring up the products and we can shop together and talk about them together. You can also follow me on Amazon, which gives you notifications and other really cool stuff. It's a neat pipeline here. Joe, are you ready to do? I'm going to get myself off the screen. I'll let you do the big reveal here.
All right, it's the GPU. It's an Asus one, and basically make sure your latch is down because I always forget to do that. And then one of the other things that you're going to need to do on this case is make sure that you've already popped out these because one of the other drawbacks of the case is the PCIe slots are the punch out ones. They're not the removable and replaceable ones. So unfortunately, you have to deal with what you got to deal with. But we're just going to lift this up, align the slots here, and we should be able to get this in without too much of an issue because we've already done it a couple times before. So. And I guess we're in. Didn't feel like it popped, so I'm gonna try it again here. We're in, and now we're out. So, all right, let's
Oh,
try this again.
I was going to say, was that a pop or a crack? I don't know if I
Yeah,
condone that kind of.
you know, if you don't condone it, you would be building it yourself.
Oh,
That's all
that's
I'm
true.
saying. So,
That's true. Now the last build I did didn't have a
like we're
GPU,
good there.
so
Yeah, me too. I think a lot of people are making builds without GPUs at this point. So, all right, and so we're gonna get a screw in to hold this. Well, my magnetic screwdriver will actually hold on to it.
and I did just pull up in the carousel as Andrew says, the good old Asus Dual 1060. So
Yep.
this is a 2 fan. I think the Arctic cool white version. I really wanted to put this in an all white PC build, but I just didn't. The stars didn't align. But now we get that salt and pepper look, I guess here.
Yeah, a little bit of white to change up the color on there. And of course, we got some RGB. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna pull some of this cable back through here. Sorry, I don't have all the fancy equipment John has, so I have to actually move stuff around every time I move the PC. So yeah, makes
We
me
are
a
we are
little.
doing our first East-West stream. Everybody knows West Coast is. Can I do gang signs? No, sorry.
I
Everybody
wouldn't.
knows
Yeah.
West Coast is the best coast.
That
Um,
depends. How long do you want your channel to be monetized? That's
there you go. But we are doing our first live PC build. Hey, Novella Hub, welcome to the show today. He says, "Hey, hi, John, hopping in there." The only rule is don't get us demonetized and don't get us kicked off Amazon Live. So, welcome.
so here we go, and looks like we've got pretty much everything attached.
I was
And
going to say, I'm looking at a table. There we go. Okay, now we see
yeah,
it.
so all right, so taking a look here, we've done a little bit of cable management as we went. These ties actually work wonders, and like I said, everything gets stuffed down here where you can't see it. And then of course the pro method of putting a PC together is you do the smash and scoot technique. So basically put this on, you just smash it as tight as you can against here and then scoot it forward until it connects, and that's how you put the panel back on your case. There we go.
That's the
Ta-da!
HP certified way to do that, right?
Correct. If you've worked in IT any amount of time, you have used this technique. It's taught from the womb. So
I love it. I love it. Oh, this is so awesome. I had a blast doing this and just watching here. And I'm trying not to give him a hard time because I know how hard this actually is. But I think we're getting close to that post test. And what I love is the confidence that he puts the back panel thumb screws in on this case. I'm going to pull the case up while we're chatting about it. This is the Montec Air 100 Lite. The Lite that I'm
mhm.
showing you on Amazon on the carousel right now does not have RGB. I got to be real clear about that. The problem
Yeah,
is
so
just supply. Go ahead, Joe.
yeah, and this is the ARGB version. Same case, only difference is the fans on the light, non-RGB. These are RGB. So
And that's really just a supply issue. They were out of stock on Amazon, but you can see the one that's on there. And there's a lot of case choices. This would work with a variety of cases. And, as we've been showing benchmarks and talking, Joe has been plugging everything in. Is this thing ready to fire?
should be close. I'm gonna hook up a keyboard and mouse, and we can all say some prayers. And of course, I almost just hooked this up to to the uh, the back panel I/O, and that would not have worked very well because we have a dedicated graphics card. We don't need that. So
I just zoomed in for a
that's what we'll see.
second to the one connector that a lot of people miss, which is the back of the GPU power. And they
Yeah.
don't have that connected. I've blown video cards by not hooking that up in the older ones that weren't smart. So that's one thing to be real careful of as you're hooking this up.
Yeah, I actually had that issue where I had just gotten back my motherboard and putting back in my cards and everything, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out why my system is not booting. The motherboard was fine, everything else, and then realized, yeah, it was booting just fine, except for I did not actually plug in the PCIe power to my graphics card, so it gets even the best of us, I guess.
Oh no. And I did have to pull that super chat back up. He didn't super chat again, I promise, that I think of, because otherwise Joe would be doing a dance right now. But thank you, Zach, for the $100 Merry Christmas to all super chat. I really appreciate that. That's going to give Joe, I think, at least an XR1 light encoder or something. We'll get maybe a continuous battery for that fancy DSLR he's got.
Yeah, something like that. All right. So since I don't have all the fancy equipment, first things first, I gotta throw the switch on the power supply. And let me see if I can get us lined up to look at the monitor here.
Can we
All
can we
right.
get one that has the
You want a
monitor?
countdown or?
Can we get one with the monitor and the case? So I know you don't have this plugged into another machine,
Oh,
or
oh,
is
sure.
that asking too much?
Do I have to?
Yeah, I'm gonna
See.
get myself out of there just so you don't see my reaction. There. I like it. Okay.
All right. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. And we're not posting. Well, actually, it's not even turning on.
Did you plug it into the wall?
It is. So you can tell the motherboard is actually on. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So now becomes
All right.
the
Back panel
time
connector, I'm sure. All right,
that.
you're gonna have to go to yourself because I'm not moving this camera again.
Okay, I'll take it over here for a second. I
There we
do
go.
want to thank the Tonor company. This is the Tonor Q9 microphone that I'm using. They talked to me about doing maybe a live stream special, doing the full line of the Tonor products. And what was funny about it is I said, well, I don't usually do it unless I have experience. Like I've done stuff for Wise, I've done stuff for Scepter, I've done stuff for a lot of companies. I said, send me your most representative sample. I kind of thought that they would send me the really expensive microphone. This is their budget microphone. This is the Tonor Q9, came in this box back here. And it was, I think, $54.99. I'm going to bring it up real quick on the carousel so you guys can see it. It's the first product on our list today. And it's genius. It's a USB, and I'll just show you because I don't want to make you guys think that I'm not being legitimate here. I'm going to pull the camera up on the side. I'm going to switch over, and you can see this is my setup here. I'm using OBS like all the good streamers do. I plugged this into my desk. I plugged it over into OBS, and it works. I've added one thing to this, which is a noise reduction filter, and I do that for every microphone I have. It sounds really good. And also, a nice thing about this, it being USB, you don't have to have a super expensive fancy mixing board like I do over here, and I'm not using, or another Focusrite or Behringer interface. You can take it with you. It's portable, and it works really well. So, very cool for a beginning streamer. $54.99. This is provided by the Tonor company. This is their Tonor Q9, which I just pulled up on the Amazon carousel. So Joe's been doing a little bit of work. Did we find anything debugging this, Joe?
Yeah, it was pretty simple. It was just the front panel connector was in the wrong spot. So, and before we hit the button, Ruby and Rohan over in my chat, thanks for stopping in and saying hi. Apologize, I've been a little bit absent. I've been busy. So, All right. Do we want to count down or how do we
Yeah,
want to do this?
let's see. 3, 2, 1. Nice.
Ta-da!
I need some music. I need a button on my stream deck so I could just be like, have, parade or something.
Sorry for the seasickness, everybody, but
Yes. Yes, it
there we
is
go.
posting Iron Man. Somebody's got a
Ta-da!
I thought it was
What? Somebody
I was
made
gonna
like
say
Marvel?
I was gonna say that's a
Yep.
Marvel fetish, isn't it?
Yep. And there's one over there. So yeah.
I love it. So this thing's posted now. I'm going to bring up the benchmarks again real quick. Oh, actually, that shot you've got right there. Man,
Oh,
look at
sorry.
that RGB. No, that's great. That's cool.
And from the front, it looks really good as well. So we'll move this around and maybe even, I don't know how bad this is going to look, but we'll try dimming the lights, setting the mood.
It's
So
looking good. Your camera's
the
auto
RGB on
adjusting
here is
for sure.
yeah, the RGB on here is it's bright without being obnoxious, which I personally enjoy. So
Oh
it's
man,
unfortunate that the webcam looks better than my DSLR does, but
I'm going to have to figure out how to do the conversion rate here because you just got a super chat from Kren6977 says, "Good day, but it's in Aussie bucks."
well, good day, mate.
Oh, don't get us started here, but no, I appreciate that.
It's demonetized.
Yeah, exactly. Kren, thank you so much for the super chat. And yes, we are
Thank
building
you,
a
appreciate it.
10105. That's going to help him with the potato camera fund.
Yes.
Get him upgraded here. But this works really cool. And again, I love the fact that it was the front panel connector. I think next time we're going to have to like have a betting thing going on, like a will it post poker.
Yeah.
And depending on what bingo cards you get, that happens to
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, and it's funny because on this case, so by default, the reset switch is not, it goes directly to the controller that's on the back. So it's actually got a button on the top right here, and you can actually go through and change the RGB modes on it. And so you don't get the reset switch unless you actually take it out and plug it in. So you only have 3 sets of connectors. So you got your hard drive LED, your power LED, and your power button, when normally you would have those plus a reset switch. And so I just plugged it into the top, just going along and proving to you that I would have this done, under an hour. And
Well, I wasted a lot of time in the beginning.
yeah, exactly. I didn't start, but we still kind of got there under an hour. So
Very cool. Well, I appreciate that, throwing this thing together. That is one interesting thing about the reset switch. Now on the fan, I noticed the fan is different colored. Is there extra ports on that addressable RGB that we could hook the fan to the controller? Not that we want to.
No, because the actual cooler that we use is actually only RGB, and the controller for these are ARGB. But there's only 4 ports; they're all used anyway. The good news is that you can actually install, I believe it's Polychrome for ASRock, Polychrome Sync for ASRock, and you can actually, all these fans that are on here, since they're directly connected into the motherboard, you can actually control through that software. So you can actually synchronize them and put them on the same effects.
Yep. And then I see the motherboard glow lighting going there. Are you going to do
Correct,
that?
and that's controllable as well. Yep.
Yeah, so you could sync those. Are you going to do that ASMR thing when you peel that back? Can you get your mic close enough to peel?
I can do that, but if we're going to ship it,
okay.
You know what? Hold on. I can help you out. I've got you guys. Chat, don't say I didn't do anything for you here. So
that's the best part of building a PC and getting a sunburn in the summer is when you peel that off, isn't it?
Yeah. So let me see if I can adjust this. And
the good news is if you keep it clean, it'll stick
off.
right back on.
Well, there's actually 2 on here, so I can peel the inside.
Oh, fair enough.
The outside on. So, all right, here we go. Let's see if I can do this.
Get it close.
Hold a mic.
Oh, I got some in there. That mic is so good at noise canceling, but I did get some in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Bingo.
We got some, so we'll take it. And of course, it looks a lot cleaner now because you're not looking through 2 sets of plastic film. So
I love it. And you know what? Right in the middle of that, we got another super chat from somebody that doesn't want you shooting with a potato anymore.
Oh, awesome.
A guy we both know, the old PC Tech Hustle.
Oh, that guy.
That guy, yeah. 1999, which I think is the slider on your mobile browser version of whatever site that is. But thank you again, Dan from PC Tech Hustle, another fellow YouTuber friend of ours. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you, sir. I do appreciate that.
All super chats, as we were talking about, especially the ones for it not posting, go to help Joe with his potato camera addiction. That's a good looking machine there. So we've just finished building the 10105. I'm just going to look real quick and make sure we highlighted all the products which we have from Amazon. I do have to close out the Amazon folks. So if you are watching, I'm going to pull us up side by side here. Joe, if you're watching on Amazon Live, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you guys here shortly. We are going to keep talking here for a little bit, but we've gone through the build process. We use a GTX 1060 on this. We use some silicone power RAM. Joe was gracious enough to show you how to put that all together. The budget build on this thing, when the prices, they fluctuate a lot. Again, I got to be really careful with Amazon and pricing. This came out to right around $400. I want to call out, and again, thank you, Dan, Roy, Carla, Kevin, Victor, and Proxa Customer Service, whoever they are, for following on Amazon. If you haven't followed me on Amazon before, hit the follow link. You're going to get notified anytime that I go live streaming. And coming up this Monday, I actually have a live stream on Amazon with 8 different earbuds. Just in time for the holidays, you can see a lot of cool different earbud options. It's just taken me a long time to do all of the work there. So just want to thank you there. I'm going to drop the Amazon now, but we are going to be staying alive here. Coming back to me. We are going to be staying alive. So thank you guys, everybody on Amazon. And Dan, thank you for the sub there, or sorry, the follow there on Amazon. And he says, very nice build. S-word. I said the S word. And I'm going to hit end. See you guys later from Amazon. Okay, we got to count to like 5 just to be safe, Joe.
All right.
Live stream ended, publishing video. And we had 764 people drive by us on Amazon there.
Awesome.
That was crazy. And now we can be humans again. Sorry about that, guys. Amazon, I like it, but it has some pretty unique rules. You know, there's some things you can and can't do. I like the fact that as a creator, you guys know, we basically have to get the products from Amazon anyway, because that's usually where we buy them, do the video, hope somebody finds the link in the description, clicks through. They don't have a cookie blocker or, URL filter and all that stuff. Says we lost audio, Andrew said. Oh. You can still hear me though, right, Joe?
I can hear you.
I think that was Andrew.
You can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you too. So I think that was, might want to check Andrew on yours. If you were jumping on Amazon, it's kind of weird too. They start everybody muted. So you have to tap in on Amazon if you were watching there. I did just drop out the Amazon, so you have to watch us on YouTube. But, I like it that they give creators a voice and an opportunity to show products. We get to be on the product page. So all those products that I was hitting, we were live on their product page. Andrew says, never mind, it was him.
Okay.
Don't scare me like that, man. We're new streamers. This is tough on us. But so that was the Amazon thing.
Like a professional over here. Come on, guys.
There's something in there that's getting pro. That PC build went pretty fast. You did that in under an hour if I wasn't slowing you down, pointing out every product.
It's almost like I'd done this before.
Now, let me talk about one more thing. We got another one of those super chats. So it's like I can see this ching ching ching.
That's always in the guy that's always in the craft computing.
Yeah.
I never get to see it live. I always end up having to watch the replay because you guys start way past my bedtime. So.
Oh yeah, and I think we end up drinking way past tomorrow for you. We get tomorrow pretty easily. But no, that's funny. There's a lot of upgrade paths on this machine. I happen to get that 1060. This is the rules of Amazon. Luckily they're not here right now. I couldn't tell you. I bought that thing off of OfferUp for $100 about a year and a half ago. It was right at the beginning of COVID, and I should have bought every GPU I could have found. I didn't think about that. I paid $100 for that thing. It's a 3 gig. I played all the games that were out at the time were great. And it was one of my first forays into the GTX series or whatever because I've always had the AMD cards. But what was interesting about it is I tried to play Doom Eternal, and that was the first game that was like, whoa, you've only got 3 gigs, you know?
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that was one of the ones that, and I liked, the different Doom stuff. So, the older ones worked fine, but as soon as it came into Doom Eternal, that's the one that blocked me because of the RAM.
Yeah.
It, if you have any advice on where to get GPUs, throw it in the chat. I don't know, Joe, any ideas?
I mean, there's not really a lot of good ideas. Unfortunately, EVGA shut down their queue system, so you can't even get into the queue now. If you were in the queue, you're still in it, and I've done some videos on that stuff if you guys are interested. But that was the best one. I actually have an RTX 3060, and I got it for 329 from EVGA Q. So if you're in the queue, yeah, exactly. If you're in the queue, hopefully it comes soon. I can say just from the amount of comments on that video, if you're looking for a for the win card, it's going to take a long time for you to get it. Some of the other versions are a lot easier to get. Uh, but so, unfortunately, that's gone for us. Zotac is actually staying. They're bringing queues in and out.
Hmm.
Newegg Shuffle is still a thing. Whatever you think about that, I have reservations about it. Unfortunately, it's just one of those. Like I like the premise of it, but also they tend to bundle a bunch of crap. Lately there's been more where you can just get a GPU. Other than that, I mean, OfferUp, eBay, there are still deals out there. It's just you have to be quick and you have to be ready to just pay the price and be able to move forward. But that's pretty much how you're getting GPUs now. I mean, Zach TechSurf, he gets all kinds of GPUs, but he's constantly on Mercari and OfferUp and sites like that all day, every day to find the deals. And once he has a deal, has verification, boom, go.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to talk about that real quick. Zach Tech Turf deals
Hmm.
on Discord, on Twitter. Now that we can say anything we want, but it
Yeah.
feels like we can say anything we want. But
Say you want to test your monetization?
I'm good. I'm good. But it's interesting because those guys, they were out there. He was buying from what is it, AliExpress. He's buying these
Right.
550 cars, 560s.
Hmm.
And it's like paying $200. He's getting these budget builds done, which I commend him. But man,
Right.
it's all second and third and fourth tier hardware, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, if I could find a used GPU, that would be a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Andrew's telling us here, and he hoarded the 1070s, and 1660 Ti is a solid
Yes.
card.
Great card. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a 1650 GTX for the HP 800 build I
Hmm.
was doing, and it's a low pro. You put that in, you don't need to change the factory power supply because it's good to 200, and that thing
Right.
rocks. That's a cool setup. But I bought that
Yeah.
card for maybe $200 because it was an under
Yeah.
400 total build. You can't get that card for 400 or $500 these days. It's
Yeah.
just killing me.
And I want to say too, if you want an AMD card, you don't have to look hard to find one. The problem with the AMD card right now, I mean, I could walk into Best Buy, I could walk into Micro Center. I know a lot of people can't walk into Micro Center. Sorry. But like, I could walk into pretty much any brick and mortar and get like a 6600, a 6600 XT, 6700, etc. It's just nobody wants to pay six, seven, $800 for them, but they are brand new cards. They are good cards. They don't have NVENC, and I know a lot of people get hung up on that. But if you're just gaming, even if you're gaming and you have a decent processor, you'd be surprised what your processor can do. And you don't have to use your video card for the streaming. You can actually just use your processor. If you're on a 3770 or 4790, something like that, you might want to think twice about it. But yeah, if you're just doing a stream and you've got a 5600 or a 101, maybe a 10600, something like that, it's plenty to be able to do a stream and play a video game at the same time. You can only have one Chrome tab, but that's more a memory thing than the processor. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Let me look at my list here. I just had a few more things. I want to make sure we covered everything in here. Um, Going through here, like I said, I've got some stuff coming up. You just released a
yep.
video, though, right? About that, specifically around that fan.
Yeah, the cooler that we did, I just released a review video on that one. And so yeah, that's out there if you guys want to take a look, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But yeah, it actually performed very well, and I tried to melt it. I strapped it to my 10850K, and all I will say is no spoilers, but we were able to use it again, so it didn't melt.
If you're
So
melting aluminum by the time it has dissipated the heat, you're putting a lot more heat out than I would. So
yeah, I mean, the processors nowadays will shut down before you can melt an actual process cooler anymore. But yeah, it was fun to mess with it and see how hot I could get it. So
now, if you are looking for a budget build, I do have to mention that this machine is going to go onto that auction website that we can finally name now, eBay.
yeah, there we go.
And I want to put this out there on eBay just to not to try to profiteer off of this, but I'll put it out there for $1 and we're going to see what it comes up with. It's a complete machine. It's got the GTX 1060. Like I said, that's a used card in there, but you're not getting new. The rest of the parts are in really good shape. Most of them, I think, except for the SSD, were bought new for just this project, right?
Correct. Yep.
So you're getting essentially a brand new machine in that sense, and they all have warranties, which we'll honor, and we'll all honor the machine for at least a year overall, as it is. So we'll put that up. It's going to go up on Sunday. Again, proceeds go to help Joe and I do more of these. If you guys like these kind of shows, you can see how to subscribe and how to follow our antics here on the bottom of our screen. Did I miss anything, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, other than that, just looking for PC deals and stuff like that. We talked about it. Zach's Tech Turf has a good feed because he's constantly looking for stuff. I've actually got that in my Discord server as well. But you can follow him, follow me, whatever the case is. And then, yeah, I mean, just the budget parts, Amazon Warehouse. We talked about it earlier during the Amazon part. It's really a great resource for you to be able to find stuff that a lot of the time hasn't really been used or hasn't been used a lot. And like I said, even if you do get something that doesn't work, you can always send it right back to them because it's Amazon.
There you go. Yeah, Abdul Azim Patel has a question. He says, is this a good card? The PNY GeForce RTX 2060 6 gig XLR8. I'm not familiar with the XLR8 stuff. You know on that one?
I don't know. I haven't used that card before. 2066 gig in general is going to be a good card. Outside of that, it really depends on what kind of case you're putting it in, airflow, stuff like that. So I know I tend to stay away from the one fan cards. Like I said, I don't know that one off the top of my head. So I would definitely say, check and see if it has two fans, as one. Even if it has one fan, if it's going into a case that has really good airflow, I probably wouldn't worry about it a lot. But biggest thing right now is 2060 is a solid card. If you can get it at a decent price, I would say I would run the chance with it, unless you're pairing it with like a Threadripper or something like that. But all in all, it's probably a pretty decent card.
Awesome. I don't know if you want to check your chat and see if there's anybody on your side that we haven't addressed yet.
No, we said hello to the couple people that stopped by there. So PC Tech Hustle was over here for a few minutes, and Rohan and Ruby came through. So I appreciate you guys, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you do want to see more antics.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I'm going to be watching tonight is Craft Computing. I think he comes on at 8 my time. It's a little bit past your bedtime, right, Joe?
Yeah, a little bit, but that's my thing on Thursday is coffee and craft computing. So I listen to that while I'm going through all my weekly reports that I have to do. So
And it's not like we've not had a lot of news this week. Joe and I both work in IT and software, and
yeah.
Oh man, what do we had this week? We had Log4Shell
offline. Yeah,
Yep.
Log4Shell started last week and screwed up everyone's weekend plans. We had the AWS East outage last week as well, late last week. And then, of course, we had the AWS outages today, which took down Twitch and a lot of other servers. As a matter of fact, I was messaging John earlier today. I couldn't vacuum my floors because Wise was offline. So my robot vacuum was like, nah, we're going to skip today. And so, I have to clean my floors myself. So
then there was me, this
air
guy.
conditioning.
I
Oh,
couldn't,
yes, I remember
I couldn't
this.
turn the heat up or down in my office here. I'm like, luckily
Yeah.
I had this. I had to go dig this out, but I use that
Mhm.
home assistant that shouldn't be named all
Yeah.
the time, and so when that was down, and that's pretty pervasive back-to-back outages that, the IoT devices. I just did a big showcase on Wise. You were talking about that vacuum. It's like the vacuum was not like, I think it was in Terminator or something that's just hitting the wall or whatever.
Right.
There's always the
Yeah.
dystopian futures. But yeah, it's kind of telling. And as a software engineer, it kind of makes me want to think about, okay, are we a one cloud shop or are we a multi-cloud vendor shop? Because to their credit, knock on Pressboard, because we're mostly Azure in my neck of the woods.
Right.
Do you need to be multi-region, multi-cloud vendor?
Right. And now the question becomes is do we fail over our AWS environment to Azure or fail over at so now are you failing over to different cloud providers so you still don't have to maintain the hardware yourself and all that good stuff. So it's going to be an interesting conversation around that because I know at least in my job everyone thinks cloud means 100% uptime and cloud I think the best way I've heard cloud described is it's not a cloud, it's just someone else's computer.
Oh,
And so that's it. It's not immune to any of the things that we have to deal with. Hopefully their budgets allow a lot more redundancy and resiliency, but whether or not they're actually putting money into it, obviously there's going to have to be a few more Bezos bucks spent this week to prevent something like this from happening again. So
and the sad part is it's performance review time, not only for, I'm sure, the AWS guys, but
yeah.
also the other guys that are using them. It's like, no, 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 I had 100% uptime all year, and then this happened at the end of the
Yeah,
year.
exactly. And when you guarantee 5 nines, what does it take? Like 4 minutes of downtime to shoot that in the foot or something throughout the year? It's pretty insane. So
Yeah, exactly. So I do want to thank, just real quickly, one last time before we sign off here. I got to thank the Tonor Company for my microphone sponsoring this stream, making this all possible for us. This is the Q9. You've heard me talking on it all night. I'm watching myself peek here, so hopefully it sounds great. But
it
I've been
does.
using it all night. It had, and I didn't mention this, it has the standard foam windscreen and it has the pop filter. Don't use both at the same time, otherwise you're a noob. And full manual works Mac, PC, and I just hit it there, making a bunch of noise. But one thing that they never talk about on other stuff is how to tune up your software for Mac. There you go. And I don't even have the gain turned up on this thing. It came out of the box good. My other one, I was telling him, I can get in trouble with Amazon if I badmouth a product. Just like, okay,
Mhm.
this product, the one I got from Newer, because I'm not going to do, the one I got must have been bad because I sent it back because I plugged it in and the audio level was like that. I couldn't gain
Right.
it up high enough, and when I did, the noise was this
It's
thing. I
just
plugged it in.
distorted.
Oh yeah, I plugged this one in, and it's a full kit for roughly the same price. And there's the noise floor on it. I could hear the hum of a computer behind me. Nothing. So I was really excited about that. So
Nice.
I'm happy to work with them. You may hear about a live stream coming up with a lot of their audio products. They got a lot of other cool stuff. So, Joe, I want to thank you for doing this with me and, making this live stream possible. We kind of last minute threw the Amazon Live in there. That was a different thing. I did want to get us those. We had over 700 people drive by. Richard said he actually saw us on Amazon and came over to us to our channels. So thank you, Richard,
Awesome.
for
Awesome.
joining
Thank you.
us. That's exactly what we want. And if you guys want to see us do this again, let us know in the comments here. And, anything else I missed, Joe?
No, I appreciate you inviting me along for the ride here. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad you were hitting the buttons and not me. I'd much rather build the computer than run an entire live stream for sure. But yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. And with that, I'll catch you in a future video.